Pottery or ceramics got started sometime in the 1930s. Miss Mary Quarles was one of the teachers there, and there was also another Miss Mary there, Miss Mary Pond. I'm assuming that was her assistant. But they did leatherwork, pottery, sculptures, painting, knitting, and even had shop, as you can see in this photograph. So, this was pretty much a good hands-on school, from the get-go. Now, Mrs. Harwell didn't take over till the 1950s. She moved down here and started Pinewood Pottery. She was really into sculptures, and so bust and that sort of thing is what she kind of encouraged the students to do. But, if you couldn't do them, she would pretty much accept anything you were actually willing to do, because she was pretty much trying to get you to come up with your own ideas, and that's what art is. That's what makes an artist what an artist is their own ideas and what they want to do, and it comes from their imagination, how they're able to make things up. Now, I don't think that ceramics went all the way down to kindergarten. I know that when I was there in the second grade, I did ceramics, and so, but they wouldn't let you use the potter's wheel. I wasn't able to use that until I think until I got into the Bell building. We just pretty much had to use our hands and just make whatever we could with it. And so you can see these are some examples of pottery there from Miss Harwell. She was a very good potter, as you could see. And her, by the way, if you ever find any of this pottery out and about, it's actually got some value to it. And so, but I found some pottery too. I look for this stuff when I go yard sailing. And I just found this a few weeks ago from a guy I went to school with. It was James Dredding. He made this piece here, and so it's a real good piece he made, and I'm going to keep it. I like it. Now, I made some pieces as well. I tried to make a boat, but it looked like something you'd find in your backyard after dogs have been back there, and without trying to keep this polite. And I also try to make this gas mask too, and I got to thinking, what all did I make when I was there, all I remember making. Now, the boat was supposed to be an ashtray because my mother smoked, and a lot of people smoked back then. But I also tried to make this M17 gas mask, and I was thinking, why did I make that? And I got to thinking, when I came home from school in the evenings or afternoons, and we just did what most families did. The mom cooked supper, and we'd sit at the table, and then we would watch the evening news.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
If the communist intention was to take and seize the cities, they came closer here at Hue than anywhere else. And now, 3 weeks after the offensive began, the firing still goes on from here on the new side of the city and across the Perfume River to the old side, the Citadel.
And so I was seeing, it seemed like gas masks on there every night when I watched it. Either it was in Vietnam from tunnel rats over there exploring the tunnels systems, or it was the riots over here, and it's taking place. So we had some tumultuous times back then, with all this, with the Vietnam War and the riots and that sort of thing. But one thing's for sure, we had respect for one another for the most part. We've never had a perfect civilization, but we did kind of sort of respect each other and look out for one another when it really came down to it. And that's something that we just simply don't have much of that at all anymore. And so that's why I kind of sort of put some of this stuff in here. Now, you're always going to have some people out there that are going to say, well, what about that bad person back then? Or what about this bad? Those weren't good times. Well, you've always had bad people, and you're always going to. But I can tell you, growing up during this era and living in this one now, that's certainly better than where we are today. That's absolutely a fact, whether or not you want to believe it or not. So that's the reason why I tried to build this gas mask. And of course, Miss Harwell, she came up to me and says, that's a piece of pizza you're trying to make. I didn't know what to say, so I just kept quiet because I'd rather her think I was making that than what I was. So, I guess she acknowledged it was something and she could make something out of it. I held on to that thing for quite some time and finally got rid of it. It was ugly. It was a horrible thing I made. Like I said, I wasn't any good at ceramics at all. But the odd thing is just I guess about 7 years later, I would find myself in a military academy and also at Fort Benning and Fort McClellan, Alabama. And I'd be actually wearing one of these M17 gas masks in the gas chamber there. So I did that 4 times at McClellan. So anyway, Tom Jones, he's got the same name as the singer Tom Jones. I'm sure he's probably tired of hearing all the different innuendos about that, but that's its name. But as far as I'm concerned, he's a legend just like he is, just in his own way. He was a very good teacher, and he taught me pottery there. He taught many other students that as well. He was also a student under Mrs. Harwell too, and so they couldn't have picked a better person anywhere to taking that over than him. And he's just a real cool guy. I've always liked Tom. And he's also makes some really good pottery too. I mean, he's really got some stuff that's worth having, worth keeping, worth collecting, worth giving as gifts. And so you can see that he graduated in 1970 from organic. And so this is his, back then the seniors would do their wills to the junior class. And so this is Tom's. I willed my green socks to Nancy Clark to go with her bright orange tennis shoes. Well, I actually carpooled with her. Her mom was also a teacher there. And a pack of paper to Ellen Roberts. And I kind of sort of glad I stumbled across this because I had forgotten about her. Ellen Roberts' mom was my kindergarten teacher. I'm pretty sure she was. And so this is my kindergarten class from back then. And so Chuck Ellis also left a will to Tom. He says, I, Chuck Ellis, will my singing ability to Tom Jones. And there we go again with endos with the Tom Jones the singer. And my height to Steve Odom. So, I thought that was kind of cool in 2 respects. I thought it was kind of cute. But I remember Chuck Ellis. I didn't even know he went to organic. I used to do karaoke at the American Legion in Fairhope back, I guess, about 8 years ago, maybe 9. And I did it on Saturdays. On Tuesday night, I think I did it there. And so Chuck Ellis would show up quite frequently and sing. And he is a really good singer. I mean, I will tell you that. So that was true. The part about him singing back then was most likely true because he is a very good singer and a very good musician. And I always liked hanging out with Chuck too when he'd come out there. He was a cool cat. And I believe he's related to the Arnolds there in Fairhope. Jack Arnold in particular. I was real close friends with him. And so it's amazing how this kind of goes in circles to some degree. It all seems to have a connection to something else. But old Tom Jones, that's him right there. And that's probably when he was a student there. So this is something he must have really enjoyed doing in order to have taken this hobby up, which eventually became a profession. Because, he couldn't have had a better teacher, I think, than Mrs. Harwell. And you can see that, there's other students there, especially, it seems like the senior ones seem to do the best with this. Well, of course, they're older. But, this was the table that we would have to build our sculptures on or whatever it was we were trying to make. And like I say, this is what I was restricted to as well. I wasn't able to use the potter's wheel. And so, but that's pretty much what a potter's wheel looks like. And I had, I'd say probably a half dozen of these in the class. And when I got to the Bell building, that's when, we started being able to work with these. And I was thinking I was going to really be able to make some cool stuff now that I finally was able to get on this wheel. But I just really didn't have the touch to do this. So, I made some things. I think there was a few items that came out fairly decent. But over the years, they just got broke. And who knows whatever happened to the rest of them. And so, But those that really took interest in this could really make some fine pottery. They didn't have to be Tom Jones or Edith Harwell, to make really cool pieces. Now, these are some examples of pottery that's been donated to the Marietta Museum. I encourage you to go look at these. Look at the entire museum, because there's a lot of stuff there to look at. And a lot of this clay, if not all of it back then, came from Fairhope Clay Products. And so you'll see a lot of these houses all through Fairhope, in fact, all through Baldwin County, that are made with this type of brick. And that's where it came from. And even the Gaston building and the one behind it and some others on campus were made from this. Now they've been painted white, and so you can see where the paint's peeling. It's showing the old orange brick. But we took field trips down to Clay City as well. I remember going on several to that place because one of the students there, Bart Jennings, I think he was a grade below me, but he worked there. In fact, I think his parents actually owned this thing. I think they bought it. I'm not sure if they're the original owners, they bought it from someone else. I'm not quite sure of the history of this, but you can see the Jennings right there on the far right, established in 1902. So I'm assuming that the Jennings had this from day one. But Bart worked there all the time. Now, he was also a musician too, and a very good one as well, because back in the 90s, he called me probably a half a dozen times to come play with him. He had put some things together and needed a bass player, so I played with him probably close to half a dozen times. But he was also with Glenn Norman's grand band, which is, I think, still out booking things as well. They've been around forever. Glenn Norman's dad was one of the bigwigs there at the Grand Hotel, I think back in the 40s, maybe the 50s. I know that Glenn himself also went to organic school in the 50s. And I taught him quite a bit. That's Glenn Norman right there. I believe he was an artillery officer in Vietnam, and that's a picture of him there. But Glenn, he was a cool cat, and he's a great musician himself. And so, I think Bart started with him in the 1980s. I think it was 80, 81, and stayed with him all the way until he passed away just a few years ago, which I hated to hear. So let's go ahead and head on down to Tom Jones Pottery. Let's just go on down there, guys. All right, guys, we're heading down 33, taking a left onto Clay City Road. And Tom's got a sign out there to show you which way to turn, both directions, coming 33, whether you're north or southbound. And this ends at a cul-de-sac down there on Cowpen Creek. It's a picture of the front. And so, this doesn't look like big on the outside, but when you get inside, it looks pretty big to me, and he's got quite a bit of display in there as well. I took some photographs of it. It's kind of like a museum. It's real impressive. I was never expecting to see such quality and how he had it all displayed. It was just really cool. Now, I also want to thank Tom for taking time out to talk to me as well. He was pretty busy. He's always got something going on, but he also took the time to take me out to the old kiln, which was, I think that may have been put out there in the 40s or 30s, who knows. But anyway, my little German pill boxes during World War II. And you can see the gas hose coming into this. I don't think they use this anymore, but they could. But he's told me that they made clay pots with this back in the day. So I played a little bit of a tunnel rat and went in this thing. I was kind of impressed to kind of see what this looked like on the inside. And you can see the brick. That's probably the last thing they made in there. Just left them in there. And it's a big dome. It's lots bigger on the inside than what it seems on the out. And I can see all that white. I kind of suspected that to be efflorescence. That's the home inspector me coming out. But it still reminded me of the old German pill boxes. That's what this looks like if you go and Google those. And so I came on out of this thing. But, I was looking at the other stuff around the place. I could see they made tile, planters, brick, block. I even suspect they may have made some terracotta plumbing pipe. That's what they used to use for the main sewer line and also for field lines back in the 50s and 60s. And so we're going around the outside of this, and What I thought was kind of odd or weird to me was the fact this is vented through this chimney, which is separate from this. It actually ducts underground and vents out through that. But I want to thank Tom for taking the time to not only show me all this, but to also have a picture with me as well. He looks a lot better than I do with my old birth control glasses. But hey guys, we're coming up to Christmas. Go on out there and check out what he has and buy a gift for yourself. But if you really want to give a good gift to someone that's unique and something that's collectible and useful, this is a place to go get it. So, he'd appreciate your business. He'd probably like to see you as well. And so there's the address on the mailbox, guys, if you need to put it in your GPS. And thanks for taking the time to watch this too. I'm going to do some more of them, so stay tuned to the next one. Peace out, guys. Also put your comments down below. I like to see those as well.